and welcome to the Pursuit of Healthiness podcast. I'm your host, Renanda van Delft. I'm a health and mindset coach, spaghetti and ice cream lover, travel junk, and a cat mom. I love conversations that are on a more raw and deeper level. And today I have with me Nena. Nena is a holistic health and fitness coach who dedicates her life to helping people to become the healthiest and happiest version of themselves. So you can imagine why I want to have her on my show today. The past few years, she became interested in the topic of aging and longevity, which brought her to the Blue Zones. What they are and how their way of living can help you, you will find out in this episode. Okay, welcome Nena to my podcast today. I am excited. I'm excited for all the episodes because all the episodes are just awesome. But this one is something that I haven't talked about because today we are going to talk about the Blue Zones. So, can you tell a little bit about what it is, what we're going to talk about today, and what you do, who you are, and just share away.
Sure. Thank you, first of all, for inviting me to be in your podcast as a guest. I love the name of your podcast and love the excitement that you show about the topic, because I'm excited as well, of course, because I have a lot of interest in Blue Zones, and I'll tell you what it is. First of all, I'll tell you a bit about myself. My name is Nena, or Healthy Nena in social media. I'm a holistic health and fitness coach who helps people, mainly women, but actually different generations and genders, with having a happier and healthier life, giving them guidelines, knowledge, and skills on how to incorporate healthy habits in their lives and have habits for life, not only for short-term periods, but really for the whole life. That's how I got interested in the topic of Blue Zones. And would you like me to tell you what the Blue Zones are now?
Yes. Yeah, just tell them. I know, but I know it's also not really common for people to know.
Yes, it's not very common. So I don't know actually a single person whom I talked to in my close group of friends who knew about Blue Zones. So when I heard about the Blue Zones maybe 6 years ago, when I did the course of integrative nutrition in New York, when I finished that course, and during the course we mentioned that, I was just like, wow, what is this? So Blue Zones are places on the earth where people live over 100 years old, or actually not all of them, but there is the density of the people, of the population is bigger than the other places on the earth. So there are a few places like that on the earth. And why are they called Blue Zones? I was also interested, who called them like that? So a few scientists who discovered and who were demographers who were interested in the people who live longer than 100 years. So they took the map, and what I understood is that they circled the place. I think the first one they did was in Sardinia in Italy, or it was Icaria in Greece, and they took a blue pen and they just circled it. So they called it Blue Zone, and I think it stayed like that. And the term was coined around 20 years ago, so it's there already for quite some time, so for 2 decades. And yes, those are the places where people live over 100 years old, and they have certain things that they follow in life, and secrets, I would call, that they have, that they don't know, they don't keep them as secrets, but they live according to certain principles that give them longevity.
Yeah, because it's a lifestyle. It's not just genetics. It's really just a way of living.
Yes,
we can incorporate that.
Yes, and the studies say that around 25% of our life and how long we live is affected by genes, and the other 75 is your lifestyle, your environment, and who you hang out with as well. So your social interaction. So it is really a lot of, when you think about it, 75% of, wow. You can do so much, right? Yeah. So you can really have a huge impact yourself. I don't like to say when people say genetics, it is not your destiny. Definitely it isn't. It is something that you have maybe predisposition to. You maybe need to be more careful, but it is not your destiny. So that is why was so interested, like, okay, what are these things that these people do there? And like, okay, let me see more, and let me learn about it. And then because of the life of my parents, and then the clients I have been working with for the last few years that are elderly and people over 65, 70, 75, and then I connected all this in my practice, and it's just an interesting thing. And for my personal, of course, for my life as well.
Yeah. So what do those people do exactly in the blue zones? Like, what makes them live so long?
Would you like me to tell you maybe before that where they are, so we know like where in the world they are spread? And also one interesting thing, when I was doing research, there are people who are actually the people who live over 100 years old. They're called centenarians. Okay, that's the name. I know you know that, but maybe some of the viewers don't. And super centenarians, they didn't know about that. Super centenarians are people who live up until 110 or above. So we still have on this planet Earth, we have some super centenarians. And while preparing for this talk, I just discovered this Japanese woman who is 118 years old. So she's the oldest in the world. Yes, and she's still living. And imagine, she was born in 1903. So can you believe somebody lived for a whole
century? Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Like, oh my God, like.
All the wars, everything. Yes. And majority of her life, yes, she had diseases, but they say that she's pretty healthy, and she has some hobbies, and she does arithmetics, and she's quite still, sharp. Has grandchildren and children. Yeah. So it was just like, wow. And one interesting thing as well is that women are more tend to live longer than the men. So also in the group of centenarians, women are the ones who are predominant, which so
it's a great thing to know.
Good thing to know. Yeah. So yes, let me tell you, yes, the blue zones on this beautiful planet Earth are in a few places. So I'll start with Greece. There's in Greece, Icaria, island of Icaria, then Sardinia in Italy, Okinawa in Japan, which is really, really south, and it's very close to Taiwan and China, actually. So they're very isolated, although Japan itself is isolated. There's a region called Loma Linda in California, relatively close to Los Angeles. And there's a peninsula in Costa Rica called Nicoya. So those, I think, 6 regions, those 6 places on the Earth are called blue zones. But what's interesting is that Dan Buettner, the researcher and journalist who actually came up with a whole research and wrote a book and wrote another book on the way how they eat, and there are also blue zones on happiness that we mentioned last time we talked. So what he is trying to do with his team is, what I really love, is that he's trying to make cities as blue zones project cities, meaning that what is happening in the blue zones, those 6 that I named, he wants to transfer those principles of life and environment into certain cities in the US where he's from. So those cities can have, and population can have a happier and a healthier and longer life.
I didn't know that.
All right. Yeah, that's really something. I think that's where the practicality comes in, that where do you want to get this and apply it in your life, and make an impact on government, how they think, what kind of policies they have regarding food, what kind of food they want to encourage people to have. Will they make many walking areas or parks? But I can come to that while I'm just telling you more about Sorry if I speak too fast. Maybe I should slow down.
No, absolutely not. Go ahead and tell. Just speak and share it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So you asked me about those secrets, or let's call them lessons.
The lessons.
Lessons, or that same researcher calls them Power 9, because they're 9 lessons. Doesn't really matter that we have to say 1, 2, 3, as I'm going to mix all of them into one. But what I would say, and maybe I can start with, which is really applicable and easily to apply, is that, and remember, is that centenarians predominantly eat plant-based diet. Okay, they or food. Let me not say diet, because they don't follow diets. They don't know about diets. They don't really think about, okay, I shouldn't eat this or shouldn't eat that. They just follow mainly plant-based diet. When I say diet, as I say, way of eating, not. So they don't really have cases of obesity or pretty in a good health and shape, I would say. So they do not eat meat. They would eat meat, but it is a rare event. And in some places, like in Nicoya, I think I read a long time ago, it depends on the pocket. So it depends on the money. They say it depends on the pocket. Like if they have money, they will buy meat. It was rather looked at something that maybe once or twice a week or 5 times, as they say, during a month. So they are not vegetarians and vegans, but yes, they're plant-based is their...
I think that's our initial way of eating anyway. Like meat, you can eat meat every day if you want these days, but I believe when you go way back, when humans would eat meat, it was a luxury. It wasn't like we have these days. So I think that it totally makes sense that they eat mostly plant-based and then sometimes meat.
Yes, and what's really interesting, that the staple of their diet are legumes, so beans, lentils, but beans, I think they swear beans, like they love beans. They, of course, have a lot of vegetables and fruits. And in the book and everything that I've read and heard, there are many tips that we can have and take from them that we can apply in our lives, and they're really not that easy. That's why Dan Buettner, he wrote a book on cuisine and how to cook their food, because he thought that's the most applicable out of all the lessons. It's very easy to introduce, very, very natural. And they would use olive oil. They prefer homemade food, and yes, predominantly vegetables and fruits. One of the things that he says as a tip that came to my mind is like, put fruits and vegetables somewhere where you can see them, like in a big bowl, and put them somewhere in the middle of your dining room or kitchen table, and people will tend to eat something that's in front of their eyes. Yeah. So and that's healthy. The same goes for, I will just give some tips that I remember at the moment. The same goes for snacks. Avoid those snacks. Okay, we all tend to snack and it's really like tempting, but avoid them by putting them away, or just don't buy them, like don't buy them, or just put them somewhere that you cannot see them. It's so easy. It's easy like that. And there's some very interesting things, like how we eat. If we eat from bigger plates or bigger glasses, like wider glasses and shorter, we tend to eat more than if we take like, look at the example, or like a longer more narrow. So interesting. But if you do, like, look at that, if you take a smaller plate and you have a bigger plate, you tend to fill the plate no matter the size. So if you eat from a bigger one, you would eat more. So these are the things that he says, like things that we can look at, and then that can affect how we eat. And it's connected to something as well. It's called hara hachibu, and hara hachibu is, hara is stomach in Japanese, and hachi is 8. And what does it mean? You want to eat until you're 80% full. You don't want to eat that you feel full. You want to eat that you don't feel hungry. And the basic, very, very, very big difference between how they eat, centenarians, and how we eat today, and if I may say, maybe it's more applicable to American diet, because he's American, I think, and when he writes, he tends to turn to that side and compare to the US diet and people and guidelines. I don't know if you've heard, and so many times if I speak to them, they say, I'm full, I'm okay, I'm full. Like, you eat and I'm full. And I'm guilty of that. And I would take a plate and I'm like, oh, now I'm full, but it's actually so much better if you fill your stomach until 80. Well, nobody will tell you, okay, now it's 80. Yeah. But if what centenarians in Okinawa, what they were doing, they would say, before the meal, they would say hara hachibu, which would be as a reminder before they start eating. Okay, I will be eating mindfully. I wouldn't be filling myself until I cannot breathe. And I think it really helps, and it's, I actually tried it the other day and I said it. So I think I'll do it, because we tend to be so distracted and eat in a way that is so not healthy. And that affects how we look at ourselves, how our body is, and how we gain weight. And as he says, this 20% up and down really affects your shape. Like, you can be obese and you can gain weight so easily, or you can just be okay because you're just mindful. So that's one of the things that I think is really like, for me, it's interesting. It's just thinking about.
But we can easily implement that in our lives. It's something that we can do. Something I've seen a study, like you said, like we tend to eat more when there is food in front of us. So I actually, when I was younger, I grew up like that, but I don't do it now that I live on my own. Like, if you put food for dinner, for example, you put all the pans on the table and you just put it on your plate. I always put food on the plate in the kitchen and then eat. So that's when you eat less as well, because as you said, like, if there's food in front of you, you'll eat more, even though you may not be hungry. You're like, oh, and there is food I want to eat.
For sure. I completely agree. I used to love having, and I love seeing a nice feast in front of me. Yeah. But if you want to eat to enjoy, but you want to eat just enough that you're not hungry, that is the right thing to do. And I think it's really, really important. And it's small thing that you can apply easily. So yes, pouring the food not somewhere else, in the kitchen, and then bring it to the table.
I think, because I grew up and my mom always told me that I had to eat my plate, otherwise I wasn't allowed to go to the table. So I think it's also, it's basically how you grew up. And even I'm changing that now, because now I listen to my body. I'm really in tune with my body. So I'm like, okay, I know when to stop. But I never used to do that, because even though I was full, I would eat, because I was like, I need to eat my plate. Like, it needs to be done. And that is something that we can change as well, especially parents listening and they have children and are saying that.
Yes, I can relate so much to that, because my mom was always, you have to eat everything from your plate. I was never aware if I was hungry or not, if I was full, or what was enough for me. No, I didn't know, because I knew I had to eat everything. So I don't, as you said, if parents are listening, and the parents who are listening, sometimes let the kids feel, or, find another way of explaining why they need to eat. I don't know. It's really a lot of experimenting. I know it's not easy, and you want kids to have everything from the plate because it's healthy, but maybe try some other ways. And, you see how we are, like, I'm close to 40. It's just like still in my head, like, how did I eat? And it's engraved as a habit. It takes time to take it out,
Yeah, exactly. It does.
Yeah. So one more thing, I want to connect to the food, because I started with the food, is they actually loved taking wine. But when I say wine, I don't mean taking and drinking wine every day, every meal, but a few times with consideration, as they would say. And with the meal, it would make a meal an event. And I love that how they go like a event. You make it as it's something special. But yes, you're drinking it with consideration. I'm not a big wine drinker, but I do believe, there's some health benefits in a good wine. And when you drink it with food, with your meal, it gives a special note to it.
Yeah, I think, and it makes the food also more delicious. I feel when you eat food during a holiday, like for Christmas or something, it always tastes just a little bit better, because it's something that you should be enjoying, and it's a feast. And instead of just having your normal Tuesday dinner, for example, it has something to it.
So those are the things that I would say connected to food habits. But of course, we're just giving basics and just a little bit of information that, people can just, tickle their interest, if I can say so. They go and dig deeper and find out more about it. I don't work for Blue Zones, I think I should. So I love it. And yeah, I might actually meet these people. Who knows, one day. So one thing that I would say is also very, very easy to apply in our lives is walking daily, or having a low intensity workouts as part of our daily life. What do I mean by that? Centenarians never had exercise regime as like, okay, I'll go to gym and I'll do upper body today, or I'll just do this type of work. Yeah, so I'll do a CrossFit training or things like that. No, they didn't have that, and obviously, well, that didn't exist at that time. But what I'm trying to say, they incorporated the movement in their lives as a normal thing. So they walked and they walked and they walked. And I think really walking is so underrated. And I believe it's super important, and it's so healthy and it's so easy, much better for the joints, for elderly, for example, than running or anything, for any generation, actually. And I think people who, for example, now I just... on a side note, who have pets, who have dogs, that they are actually the ones who would see the benefit of that, because they might sometimes be lazy to do that, but I think they're very actually grateful, because they go and take a walk and take the dog for a walk, and they walk themselves, and it's like a great habit for them. Yeah. So it's something that it's something that we can all do in our lives, no matter the age, and it's the consistency. It is consistency, and it's not high intensity, it's not anything crazy, and it's very easy, right? Most of us can walk, and yeah, we can do that wherever we live, I believe. Well, today, and I mean, now with pandemic it's a bit different, but yes, now, I mean, it's open more or less everywhere in the world, but it's just something that I always say to my clients, and I am telling my parents, and my dad, who had a brain stroke a few years ago, so his walking abilities were really low. But then he tried, and he really listened to me, and he said, "Okay, I'll walk," and he walked every day. And I think this habit really helped him, and he's now really capable of doing anything. So I'm super proud of him, and it's just because he was walking in the morning and the afternoon, and really no matter the weather, I'm really proud of him. And now he's gardening, and what they were doing, centenarians, of course, most of them, where they were living, they had gardens. Not that we all have gardens, and I'm not saying yes, now just go and live in the countryside. It's really a personal choice. I like that, but they were gardening. By doing that, they were keeping themselves active as well, and it's also like a low intensity kind of workout.
But you can even do that when you have a little balcony. Just have a couple of plants on your balcony. It doesn't have to be big. I love your background. I love all the plants.
I love plants. Yes, this is my gardening.
Yeah, but it could be that easy. Like, you don't have to have a big house with a big garden to do it. You can just create a little space on your balcony in your house.
Yes. Yeah, but then I would say gardening in that sense has also a calmness effect. Doesn't have, it's not only a movement, because when you're outside, you obviously have to move more. You use your muscles in a different way. But if you're gardening and doing a little bit of, like what I'm doing here, I live in an apartment, I think it's it has a very calming effect. It's a kind of meditation for many. I just love seeing green around me. So for me, it's a joy.
But green is a happy color.
Green is a happy color. Yeah. It's a color of life. And yeah. So that's something that I would say. The author of the Blue Zones book, he also mentions yoga. He mentions meditation. So it's something that really it's like type of yoga that is not not vigorous movements, I would say, because yoga can be vigorous as well. So I don't want to go into types of yoga, but stretches and low intensity.
Just really
workouts.
Low intensity workout, just low intensity for your body.
yes, but consistent. And I believe that's really an answer to pretty much everything in our lives.
Yeah.
You have consistency and you do something at a lower pace, but you do it consistently, you'll have so much more benefits. Whereas I think many of us, and I'm guilty of the same, we tend to, overdo something, and we like do it so much and then you stop, and then, so it's a philosophy of life. It's a way of living that you start understanding after some time. I don't have to do anything over the top. I just have to do it and, keep doing it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm realizing. Yeah.
Yeah. Consistency is key with everything. Like no matter what you do, it's better. It's a shame that people always want to find a quick fix. And I understand that. But when you really want quality out of life, then consistency is key.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. I'm just looking at something that I want to, I just at my notes and those lessons, if I want to mention, but there are many things, so I'm just trying to stick to the main ones. And I'll tell you one more.
Yeah, tell me more.
So there is also something called Ikigai. Ikigai, maybe you've heard about. There's also a book written and it's called Ikigai. And it's, let's say it's in Japanese, and let's say if we need to translate, it would be a purpose. So a very sensitive topic, I would say, like, what is the purpose of my life? Like, are we really able to answer the question easily or not? And maybe some yes, maybe some not. But what I'm trying to say is finding purpose in what you do, finding purpose in your life. Why am I waking up in the morning? What am I going to do? Like, if you do have that purpose, if you, for example, now again, remember my dad who's building a house, although he's 75, he will be this year. So he is doing it, but I think that's giving him purpose. And that's, or to my mom, she's taking care of animals and gardening. And if, or I love my clients, and I that's my purpose to help people, and your purpose as well. I'm sure podcast is one of them, and you want to share this idea of health and happiness like me. And that is what I see as my purpose. But if I didn't have that, I think it would be much harder, to live life and to live a healthier life and to live a longer life. So that's what they saw, that it's connected to longevity, that those people had purpose. They knew why they're waking up. And then they were all very connected with their families. So they say family first. So they would always have either a meal together or a day together, some activity together. There are also, for example, people in Loma Linda in California, they belong to a certain religious group of Adventists. So they had Saturday only when they were spending with their families and doing nothing. So that's also one thing that they were saying. One of the lessons is like downshift. Do nothing. Literally do nothing.
Especially in these days, this world, we need to slow down.
Yeah. Yes. It's like, so it's like rest, don't do homework, kids, don't do whatever work you have. It's just being with your family and, spending time. So I'm connecting purpose, Ikigai, to downshift, like to resting and family. So these are all there are three lessons that I'm connecting in one. So spending some time, quality time with your family and with the people who are closest to you. Centenarians also have this thing. They don't have nursery homes or, homes for elderly. So they would, most of them would have their parents live with them at the old age. So that's something that's typical for the blue zones. But one thing that I would say that is the most important thing out of all those Power 9 lessons is right tribe. So right people around you. So it's called Moai. Again, it's something in Japanese. These Japanese, I love them.
But there's a reason why they look so good, and because to be honest, you cannot really tell their age when you see it.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that.
Yeah, they have the oldest population in the world. Like when you see the number of people, although the longevity, the age limit moves, and we are getting to higher age, I would say. It's not about, what the point of the blue zones, it's not about just living longer. No. It's about living longer and healthier and happier life. That is the whole point of our conversation, because we can live longer, but then if the quality of our life is we're stuck to the bed, and we have some unfortunate disease, or we cannot move, then that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about longevity and what we can do to have a healthy life. Where we can move until we are 100 or 110. I don't know. I don't know how long we live. But one thing is certain, we will all die. But the second thing we can do something about is how we will live until that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you say that, because I don't think a lot of people realize that only one thing in life that's certain, and that's that we will die. But we can choose how we live our lives. If it's happy, if it's sad, if it's angry all the time, like we have a choice. We have a say in that, and we can make changes in our lives to live a quality. The type of life is from high quality.
Yes, I think what you said, we can choose to be happy. Maybe some people wouldn't agree, and they're like, well, I cannot be happy if I live here and if I live there. But, with the age of my years passing in my life, I'm realizing more and more that many more things depend on me, and including my happiness. So I can really decide if I want to be miserable, because I have so many reasons. Look at last year. Yeah. But I can also find reasons to be happy. And maybe people have heard this for so many times, but I still think it's valuable to hear. Yes, we can choose. We can choose to be happy, and we can also choose to be sad. Yeah. Sadness is also healthy. I don't think that you shouldn't feel the feelings of sadness and any feelings.
No, absolutely not.
But it's also good to give yourself kind of time and say, okay, now I had my time and I felt the feeling of sadness, anger, frustration, but maybe it's time to move on. I can decide I want to do something else and I want to feel happier. So what can I do? And the unfortunate thing is that people don't know sometimes what makes them happy. And that's where we come in. That's where we can give them some kind of guideline or energy that we have. That's just, people see, okay, it's possible, I can maybe try. And
but as you said, the last thing that you said, that the people around you have an impact on it. Like, I really see it. For example, we have this conversation right now, and it's fun. Like, I love talking to you, and I get the energy, the vibration goes higher, so it makes me happy. And when I lived in the Netherlands, I really felt unhappy because I was surrounded with negative people, with toxic people, and it really affects you as a person too. And once I moved to another country, I know that's maybe not for everybody, that's a little bit drastic, but when I moved to another country and wasn't around those toxic people anymore, I became happy. So it truly has an impact on your life and the quality of your life. So I think we need to realize more who we hang out with. And I understand the saying, but I also hate it a little bit, is when they say, but it's your family, but it's your dad, or it's your mom. And I'm like, it doesn't matter if it's your best friend or if it's your family member. If you don't feel happy around them, or if they really drain your energy, then you shouldn't. I'm not saying to cut that band, to cut that relationship, but you can choose to spend less time with them and more time with people that do make you feel happy and that do uplift you and give you energy.
I definitely agree with you. I left that last Choose Your Tribe last lesson to talk more about it, because I think it is really the most important. And what you said about parents and siblings and best friends, I believe that, yes, family is something, it is sacred and I have respect, but I also understand where people are coming from, what you just said, that sometimes even family can be toxic, and there are phases in life that we're going through, and sometimes they don't coincide, and maybe we don't understand each other. We're different paths.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean we don't love each other.
No, absolutely not.
I believe we do, but it's just that we cannot maybe understand that at that moment, understand each other at that moment. So yes, family, but yes, if it's toxic, it's toxic regardless of what it is, or best friends. And I've experienced both. I experienced that my really close friends are not close anymore, and the other way around. Some people who weren't close before became close because we evolve as the time evolves.
Yeah.
What centenarians did with these Moai groups. What are these Moai groups? So Moai groups are groups of people, of like a few friends that you spend time with, and they say it's good to spend at least 30 minutes a day and talk about anything, share deep stuff, share people, and anything that's really, really close to your heart, to very simple things, anything, just sharing, and this is the social connectedness that they had, and that they kept them. And also people who think in a way you do, people who think like blue zones people, so they're in a similar with similar philosophy of life, and who can support you, because that's really going to be encouraging. Then it's going to be encouraging for you to have the same habits, and to continue with your healthier habits in your life. So they did an experiment. I watched it the other day, where they in the US now. So it's now not with centenarians, to experiment with I don't know, is it around 30 women? I'm not sure, or maybe just 5. And they gave them, I think, a span of 2 months to eat food. They gave them the recipes of the blue zones, and to spend time together and to cook together. So all of them lost weight first, and all of them were quite they were not obese, but some of them were, and they all reported such a healthier and happier mindset. So because they all they had the same goal. They didn't have a goal of losing weight. They had a goal. They were a part of this experiment, of a study. So it was just interesting, because they all thought in the same way. So they had the same goal together. So they were supporting each other, and I think it's amazing when you have somebody who is like that, and it's that person is in your circle of friends, and you just speak the same language, and it's easy, it flows, and it makes you motivate each other. And as you said, the energy is everything. So it's just that's something that they say really affected the longevity, keeping that close tribe, a right tribe of people.
Yeah. That's why I love online communities, because now you get to connect with people all over the world. And it also depends on the community, though, because some communities, especially these days, there's a lot of spamming going on. But if you really find that online tribe that we are talking about, then you really can make things happen. You really feel not so alone. Like you said, you have the same goal, so you are more likely to achieve it, because you are surrounded with the same people, with the same mindset, with the same purpose. Well, maybe not the same purpose, but the same goal.
And also interesting thing is that women, we are more open to show and express our emotions and everything that happens. So it's for us, it's more natural. And of course they would say in-person contact is much better, because they could do that. But I don't also want to, you said online communities, they do have still they can help. They can help, because if we don't have a choice of doing it in person, okay, let's make the best out of it. Exactly. That's how I was looking at things last year. And then again, it opened a lot of different ways of communicating, being creative with your work and everything. So yeah, they're good things. Yes, of course, I would love to meet you in person as well. But I like this too.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's different. It's not the same as being in person with each other, but especially now, it's the closest you can get.
Mm-hmm.
So I like it. So is there another thing that you would like to share, or a lesson that you've learned life or from the blue zones.
Yeah, there's one more that I forgot, but I kind of mentioned it close to it. If you belong to a certain group of a religious group, that's what they discovered, is that affects your longevity. Doesn't mean that if you're not a religious person, I personally am not very religious. I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. But if you do belong to a group, it gives you, again, certain support and encouragement. It motivates you, and it just affects. And you have the sense of belonging. I think that's the word, the sense of belonging, and that's what they discovered. So he's giving a few tips of maybe you want to join an activity or in a group or a certain religious community, or I don't know, go to church or go. I mean, I'm not for or against any religion. I am Christian, but as I said, I'm not very religious. So it's however you feel is right. But there is certain power in belonging or going to a community where there's some energy that can uplift you. So that's something that I forgot to mention. But what you asked me, from my own life, I think when I've discovered zones, I think it's not something that's just a story that I say and it's interesting, and people who live, it's happening. So it's true, and those are facts. People live there over 100 years, and they have things to tell us. And working with elderly myself, I've discovered by listening to them and talking to them as well, but mainly listening to them, their small comments they make, I can see how much I can learn. And they're so wise. And, sometimes you're like, oh, mom or dad or so old. But it's not really like that. And they're so young at heart, and they can teach us so much, because there's some general life principles that they don't depend on the decade or the century we live in. They're just general, and it's very nice to hear from them. And I think there's this respect that I have more and more for them, and knowing, about blue zones. So I think, just reminding myself personally and my clients, and maybe, the audience that you have and where I speak and where you will speak, it's just like passing the word. Okay. It's not very difficult to walk. It's not very difficult to eat more fruits and vegetables. And people know these things, but maybe when we say, okay, this is what these people did, and, give them a few tips, try and start with a few. Like for me, I know I want to get, for example, hara hachibu, the one I told you, like eat until you're 80%. So I want to say it, and I'm promising that to you now, and you can tell me yours if you want. Like before each meal, I want to say that. So I want to be more mindful when I eat, and I don't want to distract myself with anything like a TV. Well, I don't have a TV, but anything, when I'm eating. And maybe I want to experiment more with plant-based food. I don't eat much meat. I'm plant-based myself, but to take more tofu, to eat even more beans. I never used to love beans. My dad was always telling me eat beans, but there's a way of preparing. So I want to, that's my thing. I want to experiment with beans and lentils more, and tofu, and different types of protein, because they're very good sources of protein and healthy plant-based sources of proteins. Because I don't eat meat, that's something I want to incorporate. But I think they're tips that people can really find useful, and I would love them to to learn something from this conversation. And I hope they will. What do you think? Like, would you like to, I guess you use some of the things, but is there something that you would like to try to incorporate in your life out of these tips?
Well, I'm already walking every single day. I walk to the beach and back. So that's like an hour and a half walk in the morning before I start my day. I think I would try to eat more plant-based, because I'm already eating healthy, and I incorporate a lot of legumes already. Like, for example, yesterday I had chickpeas and lentils, just in a wrap. So that was my dinner. So I already tried to do that, but I think I would eat less meat. I'm already eating less meat than I used to do before. But I think I could take it I think I can eat less.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I can eat less. Yes. And the other things I'm already doing as well. Like I try to eat more mindful. Also, when I'm hungry, I'm being mindful about it. I'm questioning myself, like, are you really hungry or do you just want to eat? Are you
Yeah.
bored? Or do you just want to feel happy? Because that is something that a lot of people mistake as well. Like if you feel bored or you feel unhappy, you want to eat food, because to be honest, food just makes you happy. At least to me, it does. Like food is something that, I don't know. I'm happy when I eat, so I love food too much.
Oh, well, you should not.
Yeah.
But food, I think food should bring happiness, but food shouldn't be replacement for something we are like filling a void. For many people, it is. And what you said, you're recognizing, okay, am I hungry? Am I just eating because I'm this and that? So it's just asking those right questions to yourself, and just like, okay, stop for a second.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's with anything in life that's something that I'm learning. Well, I've learned it a long time ago, but I start to realize it every single day a little bit more. We have to question ourselves. We have to be mindful about everything that we do, about the thoughts that we have. Like we can question ourselves. The thoughts that we have are not necessarily our reality. So we have to question ourselves as well, because we have been wired a certain way since we were kids, like the beliefs of our parents, what we see on the TV, what we see on the internet. So it's good that we have to question ourselves, like no matter what we're doing, whether it's about food, whether it's about our feelings, our thoughts, like everything, we have to be really mindful about everything that we do. And I know it's difficult, but if you practice it, like walking daily, it becomes a habit and it just becomes part of your life. Like it's breathing and brushing your teeth in the morning and eating. I mean, that's something that you use, so you have to do.
And we are what we repeatedly do. So if we have those small habits that stack onto each other, then we become that. And it's making those small steps consistently. And that's what you just said. Yeah. Questioning is not pleasant always. It's not comfortable, but it's a big step to growing.
Exactly. So so if people want to work with you, how can they contact you, and what do you exactly do? What do you help them with?
Mm-hmm. So they can find me as Healthy Nena on social media. So Instagram and Facebook page. My website is in construction at the moment, so I think it will be done in a month's time. As I mentioned at the beginning, yes, I'm a holistic health and fitness coach. I started working mainly with women, with busy women, with moms, and but my work kind of widened up to different generations. So I started working with seniors, with people over 65 and 70. So I work in person and online. So it can be either movement based, which is a holistic fitness session, like a coaching, or it can be health coaching, where we focus more on your healthy lifestyle habits that can be directed to your nutrition habits, how you eat, and what drives you to eating this or that food, guidelines. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a dietitian. I do not prescribe diets. I don't believe in diets, but I believe in healthy lifestyle and creating lifestyle habits. So I work on those long-term results, and I think you do, as we mentioned at the beginning. So it's something that I say, if a client comes to me and they just want to lose weight, I'm saying, well, it's not we're not a right fit. No, it is for them, but not for me. So I'm the right coach. The results that they want will come with my coaching, because we work on long-term results. So obviously, let's say losing weight would come as a result, but as short-term results, I don't do work on weight losses. So it's a longer, I would say, longer work and process, but it creates amazing results, and for a lifetime. And I just love seeing my clients loving how they want to move, they want to live healthier life, they want to live happier life. So they feel the energy that I feel, I believe, and then they just I don't know, they just feel better. And that that motivates me. So yes, working on mindset. I used to dance before. So I was dancing for 10 years back home, and then I became a Zumba instructor. So I teach Zumba. So that's one more thing I was, am doing and was doing online and in person. So there are quite a few things that I incorporate in what I do. And yeah.
Okay. Well, that's amazing. I'll leave everything in the details so people can contact you. I want to thank you for this conversation. I hope that we brought a little bit more light, that people learn something, and that they start to incorporate these lessons in life to maybe live to 110. Who knows?
Yeah, striving to that. Yes, we want a happier, healthier, and longer life. So let's do something about it. We inevitably are getting older. We do not need to age. I used to, even a month ago, I was saying aging, aging, aging. Now I don't want to use this word because I believe getting older and aging is not the same. We are getting older. It's fact, but aging, we can really affect the aging. So it's really a lot up to us. So I want to be a living example of that. I want to be a person who is energetic and lively and looking at my best and feeling my best, not just like good. I want to look and feel best, whatever age I am. So that's my mission. That's my ikigai purpose.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for your time, and we'll be in touch, of course.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you've learned something. Let me know in the comments, what are you going to incorporate in your life today? As always, if you need more support, more help or guidance, we are here to help you. Nena and I are health coaches who can help you to live your happiest and healthiest life. Just click the link in the bio and we are here for you. And again, thanks for listening and see you next time.